Ice types suck in Pokemon, but when trying to find an excuse to play through my favorite game in the franchise again, it occurred to me, I wonder if this game is beatable with only ice types. And you know what, we'll add a few more rules on top. If you like these kind of challenges, you'll probably be familiar with them. None of my Pokemon can be a higher level than the next boss, I cannot have multiple Pokemon of the same species, and I cannot use items from my bag while in battle, though Pokemon may still hold items. Note, this is not a Nuzlocke. Also, I'm not going to cover every little fight, just the more interesting ones. So, starting off the challenge, you can't actually get any ice types until after the first totem Pokemon, so we'll just skip straight to there. The first Pokemon we are able to get are Delibird, who only learns one attacking move, and not until level 25. So yeah, not expecting much from that one. And Smoochum, not Jinx, though that would actually be available at this point, I just didn't know it at the time, but Smoochum, who isn't good. So yeah, the Kahunas probably not going to be the easiest thing to deal with. Quick spiel about this challenge. I'd forgotten the idea of getting through consistently. If I wanted to do that, I'd be doing a Nuzlocke. The main goal of this is to find a way through these battles that works. It's kind of like solving a puzzle. And here's the solution I came up with for solving Hala. Hala opens with Machop. If it uses Focus Energy, we can get a free 2-hit kill with Smoochum, so that's what we open with. Next up, Crabrawler. I'm not entirely sure why the ace comes out second, but most likely it's because Crabrawler knows Pursuit, which is super effective against Smoochum. The important thing to note is that Pursuit is not guaranteed to kill Smoochum. If we put an Oran Berry on Smoochum, we can survive a hit, heal a little, you'll see why in a minute, and use Confusion. On the winning run, I got lucky and got a crit, meaning Smoochum was ready to go for the last Pokemon, Makuhita. Makuhita knows Fake Out, which has a chance to kill Smoochum if it crits. If not for that Oran Berry from earlier, it would be guaranteed to kill. Somehow, it crits and we still manage to survive, which gives us enough time to land a Confusion, bringing Makuhita to half health. And then Delibird's in. Delibird knows Present and Pursuit. Present has a chance to do a lot of damage, but it also has a chance to do a little bit of damage and a chance to heal the opponent, and Pursuit isn't going to do anything. Both look like bad options, so what do? Secret option number 3, we use Present as a Z move. It does a lot of damage, it's consistent, and it kills. Kahuna 1 down. Surprisingly, thanks to Delibird. Once the Kahuna is dealt with, there's not much standing in our way until we get to the next trial, except for a brief Gladion fight, which I dealt with through a few brute force attempts. Arachnid is a bit of a problem. My team still consists of Delibird, who doesn't learn any attacking moves until level 25, our level cap being 20, and Smoochum, who is weak to bug types. For like 3 hours I did try to just brute force the issue to see if some insanely good luck could come through, but while desperately double checking my encounters, I realized I could actually catch a Jinx through SOS encounters. So welcome to team member number 3, but something more important happened after I caught Jinx. I was looking into what moves Jinx could learn, and I realized move tutors existed. And while looking through what was available through move tutors, I saw that Bounce was available. This is important because this is a move that would be super effective against Arachnid, and Delibird can learn it. So, combined with a flying type Z crystal, we can open turn 1 with a ton of damage, and then spam Bounce and hope it goes well. And it does, getting us past the first big hurdle of this run. And Delibird actually completely carried here. Nice going. Maybe I shouldn't have written you off so soon. And now we have some more encounters to get. But before that, what the fuck? But yeah, once that was done, we could add 2 new friends to the team. Shelder and Seal, both of which are actually pure water types, which evolve into water ice types, which means you can't actually use either of them yet. Seal evolves at level 34, making it completely inaccessible right now, but we can evolve Shelder. If you hatch an Eevee egg, this person will give you a choice between a Fire, Thunder, and Water Stone. We take the Water Stone and we get a 4th member on our team. The fire trial is even more problematic to solve than the water trial was, and the solution was not as trivial. Before we get to the actual fight, we have to kill a Marowak and a Magmar. Since I had been looking through the move tutor moves, I had already taught Cloyster and Jinx Water Pulse. Combined with the Water Z Crystal, either of them can make quick work of these 2 Pokemon, so we can leverage whichever is more practical for the totem Pokemon itself. I lead with Jinx since it can do the most damage using Z Water Pulse, but before I do that, I go for quite the gamble. Since Jinx outspeeds, I go for regular Water Pulse. It's not going to deal as much damage as Z Water Pulse, and if it misses, Jinx will probably die, but there is a chance for it to confuse Marowak. If we get Confusion, and Marowak hits itself in Confusion on the same turn, then we get basically a free hit. And on the winning run, this works out. After this free hit, Salazzle comes out. Normally, I'd reserve the Z move to kill the totem Pokemon, as they are typically a bigger threat damage-wise. But Salazzle is actually more of a problem here, since it does special damage while Cloyster can only take physical damage. So, I Hydro Vortex Salazzle, one-shotting it. Jinx, in turn, gets killed by Marowak, giving me a free switch into Cloyster. Or, that was the plan, but I got super lucky here, and not only was Marowak still confused, but it hid itself in confusion, giving Jinx time to use another attack on Marowak to bring it into red health. Now I can switch into Cloyster, who only dies to a crit. Luckily, this doesn't happen, and we take down our second totem Pokemon. And there's no new encounters, so we can move on to... Ice is super effective against grass, so I wasn't too worried about this trial at first. But after a few wipes, it became clear that I needed a strategy, so I quickly threw one together. Smoochum goes in first, and while we have a Quick Claw and use Sing in hopes that we can put it to sleep, this isn't necessary at all for the strategy. Smoochum's primary goal here is for Lurantis to use Solar Blade on it, consuming its Power Herb. Smoochum dies, and we send in Delibird. Delibird Z bounces, bringing Lurantis into the yellow. After this, Delibird dies, so we send in Jinx, using Frost Breath to kill off the totem. Then we have to hit Kecleon until it dies. I didn't have a strategy for this in particular, it just kinda worked out. And boom, grass trial down. Ice is weak to rock, you get the issue here. The worst thing is that I didn't have a good strategy going into this fight at all, but I got really lucky before I even tried to think through it. I opened with Cloyster. It had just learned Spikes, making it a terrific setup Pokemon so long as the opponent is a physical attacker. I knew Anorith could quickly kill from my previous attempt, so I tried using Water Pulse. I came this close to killing Anorith, but just barely didn't. But hold on, this is a good thing here. Anorith happened to get confused, so, next turn, Olivia used a full heal. This gave me time to set up Spikes, and then, since Anorith was low on health still, she spent the next turn using a potion, which gives an opportunity for a free attack. In case you weren't keeping track, we're exactly back to where we started. But, now Spikes is set up, which basically means we get free damage against subsequent Pokemon. And to top it off, Anorith hits itself in confusion, basically giving us a free kill here. Next in is Lily. I switched to Smoochum with the intent purpose of sacking Smoochum to get a free switch into something useful, but thanks to the AI using a move intended for Cloyster, I got a fake Tears off, lowering Lileep's special defense. So after Smoochum dies, I send in Jinx, who outspeeds, to one-shot the weakened Lileep. And then last up is Lycanroc. Lycanroc one-shots Jinx, allowing me to switch into the ever-bulky Cloyster. For some reason, I don't actually understand why, it uses Bite instead of its Z move, so I Hydro Vortex for a free kill on Lycanroc. Easy fight, second island down. There's been a little struggle, but so far this challenge has been a breeze, and pretty soon we're gonna get a bunch of encounters, so I don't know if there's anything that could possibly stop me at this point. Togedemaru is quite the problem. Togedemaru and its partner Skarmory are both Steel types. This is bad because Steel resists almost every type in the game, meaning that finding ways to deal meaningful amounts of damage is rather difficult. So, try after try, strategy after strategy, nothing could quite touch this monster. But eventually, if you try enough things, something's gonna work. Togedemaru is, by far, unlike the Fire Trial, a bigger threat to me than its partner Pokemon, so it'd be best to put our focus on killing that as quickly as we can. To accomplish this, I start with Smoochum, holding a Quick Claw and using Fake Tears. This gives us a chance to lower Togedemaru's special defense by 2 stages. Then, Smoochum gets killed, and we send in Jinx. At the same time, Skarmory appears. If both enemies attack, Jinx will die absolutely. But, fortunately, each Pokemon can only see that they themselves cannot kill Jinx, not realizing that if they work together, they can, meaning that their moves are going to be random. We use Z Water Pulse. If Z Water Pulse hits, it'll one-hit Togedemaru due to its lowered defense, and Togedemaru Spiky Shield, which reduces the damage from a one-hit kill to doing barely anything. But the show must go on, so I kept pushing. Skarmory didn't attack either, so Jinx was still at full health, meaning that it can absolutely still get an attack off before it does get killed. So we land a Water Pulse, which gets Togedemaru really low, but due to its fairy, it mostly gets mitigated. Then Jinx is killed, and then in is Cloyster. I didn't have a plan for this outcome, so I had to think of one on the fly. If we can get a hit in on Togedemaru, it will die, leaving us with just the Skarmory to deal with. But I don't know if both of them hitting would kill Cloyster. Somehow, we barely take the hit from both of them, kill Togedemaru, and then we're left with just Skarmory to deal with. Water Pulse does nothing, and now we're in kill range. There was no way out of this situation unless we got some insane luck. 5-hit Icicle Spear? Oh, we did it! An insanely lucky 5-hit Icicle Spear to finish things off. After spending so long on attempts for just this totem Pokemon, I knew that this small team was becoming rather problematic itself. So it's a really good thing that we're about to get some new encounters. First, our level cap is now 35, meaning that we can evolve our seal into a Dugong, which is especially good because it's a special defense tank, something we were lacking. Then, we can catch 2 new Pokemon in Vulpix and Snorunt. Neither of them are particularly good, but it's always good to have cannon fodder. There is a 4th encounter we can get here, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's not useful for the Ghost Trial was much less of a problem than the Electric Trial was. I had taught Cloyster Hail to deal ticking damage to the Mimikyu. Then, I use Icicle Spear to break Disguise and deal a little extra damage on top. Next, we switch into Vulpix to hopefully get Aurora Beam's attack lowering debuff, but no such luck. We do get 3 attacks off, bringing Mimikyu to half health. This is actually important because of the next Pokemon I'm gonna bring in, the newly acquired Dugong. Dugong can take a hit and, importantly, learn Brine, a move which does bonus damage when the target is below half health. This brings Mimikyu into the red, and if I'd remembered to use Aqua Jet, it would have killed, but no dice and Dugong's down. Then we bring Cloyster back in to use Hail again, and then die, each turn when I'll bring Mimikyu slightly closer to death, so I send in Snorunt, who knows Protect, allowing it to stall. Then the low health Banette dies to a single bite. Now on to... Guzma may not seem like a big issue at first, given that his team doesn't have terrific type coverage, but they're really fast and they hit really hard, and apparently that was enough to cause me a struggle. So let's bring in a friend who can hit hard back. To get Crabominable, you have to level up Crabrawler at Mount Lanakila, which we passed on the way here. Crabominable is a big guy who can hit hard. The team was lacking a physical attacker, so it's good to finally have something cover that. We open with Cloyster, who has become our setup Pokemon. We use Hail to do a little ticking damage, use Protect to stall, and then we set up triple spikes, for the maximum amount of damage possible, which is important here because Golisopod is going to be switched back onto the field later. Then we set up Hail for the next Pokemon that gets sent out, which is Snorunt. We Protect to get that little bit of extra damage, then we use Headbutt, which causes Golisopod to flinch, then one more to get Golisopod into emergency exit range. Golisopod switches for Pinsir, which somehow leaves Snorunt on exactly 1 HP, allowing us to get off another Headbutt, and then Snorunt dies. Next in, Jinx. We Z-Water Pulse, getting Pinsir to red. Jinx survives, and only because of that stupid fucking friendship mechanic in these games. But it allows us to kill Pinsir. Masquerain is next and kills Jinx. We send in Dugong, who can survive a hit, and gets Masquerain into red. Then Vulpix, who dies, and then Crabominable, who takes care of the last bit of health. Then Golisopod is back, Spikes nearly killing it, allowing us to kill with Rock Slide. And that's Guzma down, for now. Before we face the Kahuna, the level cap is now 44, meaning our Snorunt can evolve into a Glalie, which means we now have another viable attacker on our team. The third Kahuna was actually quite a pushover. Cloyster, Spikes, dies. Glalie spams Freeze Dry, gets a little bit lucky with the freezes, and brings Sableye to the red. Dugong comes out because it is Aqua Jet, which is a priority move, which can bring Sableye down, no risk. Then Persian, who we can bring to the red before dying. Jinx out, dies, Vulpix dies, then we send in Crabominable. Note this is a dark type trainer, so fighting types are going to be really useful here. Power Punch one-shots, Crocodile comes out, and I read that it would probably bring into low HP, so I used Reversal to one-shot it. Boom, third Kahuna down. Pretty easy fight. I hope this doesn't foreshadow that future fights are going to be trivially easy. After this, I realized I could evolve Vulpix. I could have actually done it before this trial, but it wasn't super important. But then it was on to... Yeah, he's back really quickly, huh? And this time he was quite the issue. His team now had a Vikavolt, which normally isn't that huge of an addition, but you have to consider both Dugong and Cloyster are very well countered by this thing. Cloyster not being able to take a special hit, and Dugong just not having the health to tank it. And the Pinsir now knows Stone Edge, which is super effective against ice types. Hooray. But I tried a bunch of different strategies, and after an hour and a half, I got what I guess you could call a good run. We open with Cloyster to triple spikes, and then Hail. Guzma switches into Vikavolt, so we use Icicle Spear, and then Cloyster dies. We switch to Glalie, and then use Freeze Dry until Vikavolt dies. Pinsir comes out, and I want to keep Glalie around so I can Hail later, so I send out Jinx to sack it, but... yeah, that's stupid, but whatever. After getting a free attack off, we get Kit... or not. Free Pinsir kill. I will take that, that's cool. Masquerain's in next, and it's really fast, so it'll probably... this is stupid. Golisopod will probably take care of it. Are you fucking kidding me? This mechanic is stupid. Suffice it to say, if I ever do a challenge run of this game again, this mechanic is outright banned. Anyway, Guzma fight down. Woo. This next fight terrified me when I was looking at the stat pages. This team has good type coverage, and the movesets cover my team exceedingly well. I would have to strategize my ass off to get past this game's dumb. I can see the appeal of Nuzlocke when shit like this happens. Anyway, bunch of story stuff happens, and we move on to the final island, Pony. Then some more stuff happens, and we move on to the next Totem Pokemon. You'd think this would be a complete pushover, but I actually struggled quite a bit with it. It's a lot like the fire trial, where the main totem isn't the problem. It's Scizor that's the problem. It's steel type, which is bad for us already, and knows bullet punch, which always goes first. So my solution to this was to get lucky, and Noivern spawned instead, which was much easier to deal with, being a dragon flying type, 4x weak to ice. So yeah, dragon totem down. You can see how at this point in the game things are turning out, huh? Now we get to Ultra Necrozma, one of the sickest bosses in a Pokemon game in my opinion. But small issue with this fight, Jinx had just learned Perish Song, so I kinda just... yeah. There's one more totem Pokemon, and I decided I wouldn't use it for that. This one was a breeze. One attempt. Also boring. So, it is time for the finale. After passing a familiar face and going to say hi to Lily and her pet kitty, we find ourselves at the Elite Four. I did attempt to go into this with minimal planning, but I couldn't get past one of the members, so I went back to workshopping ideas. Most of my team is fine, but 2 members weren't quite up to snuff. Glalie and Dugong. We switched Glalie for the newly available Sneasel, which evolves into Weavile, one of the fastest Pokemon in existence, making it terrific for coming in to take care of business. Then we swapped Dugong for Lapras, which is like Dugong, a Water-Ice type, learns Brine, a special defense stink, but with one key difference. All of Lapras' stats are just better. So we take these 2 new members, do a little strategizing, and head in. I'm not going to bore you with these 2. This one uses flying types. This one is entirely countered by Weavile. Moving on. She's back and ready to be a problem again. Just a bit of one though. Crabominable is easily handled by any of her members, so we send it out first to try and take care of Armaldo, which works out. We also managed to get a hit off on Gigalith, which is more than I was anticipating from Crabominable. Then we send in Lapras to finish off Gigalith. Then the ace Lycanroc comes out. Lycanroc is scarier since it has a Z crystal, but bizarrely, after getting Lapras into the red, it then uses its Z move, which completely wastes it. Next, we send in Jinx to put Lycanroc to sleep and then safely kill it. After a long series of stupid exchanges that Jinx somehow survives, Probopass is down, and Cradily is up. Jinx gets fucking obliterated, and then we send in Cloyster to Toxic. We use Ninetales to kill with Blizzard, and then Weavile comes in to clean up. This fight encounters the exact same issue as Togedemaru. The steel typing resists like everything, so hitting these guys hard enough to kill them is difficult. In fact, both of the alterations I made to my team were specifically for this fight. We open with Cloyster to set up triple spikes, but only managed to get 2 off. Then Jinx comes in, getting paralyzed, but managing to put Klefki to sleep, so that we can rail on it with Psychic until it switches out. Metagross switches in and kills Jinx. Now, Metagross is the biggest issue I had when I was attempting the Elite Four before, so I spent a lot of time workshopping and carefully devising a strategy, an incredibly precise method I like to call Weavile. Yeah, I sent out Weavile and used Z-Night Slash to one-shot it. That's why I wanted Spike set up at the beginning, because it wouldn't have killed otherwise. But wait, there's more to Weavile here. Bisharp is up next because it thinks it has the highest chance of being able to kill Weavile. Due to Bisharp's 4x weakness to fighting types and the spikes I set up earlier, 1 Brick Break is enough to finish it off. Then Magnezone comes out and kills Weavile. But the 2 biggest threats were Metagross and Bisharp, and now that they're out of the picture, the rest of this fight is a lot easier. We send in Crabominable, who can kill thanks to a Quick Claw. Then, the still sleeping Klefki is back in. It wakes up to get a hit off, but Crabominable, who barely survives, manages to finish it off. The trio comes in and uses its Z move to kill Crabominable, which is good because that means we can now switch into Lapras, who will be able to survive a hit, meaning we can use Brine to kill. And that's the Elite Four down. These fights were honestly really cool, even the ones I skipped over were pretty neat, but this last fight was kind of the pinnacle of this run, both in terms of storytelling and in terms of difficulty. I'll lead with an Alolan Raichu, and this thing is fast. Even my Weavile could only outspeed if I Eevee trained it. It doesn't hit too hard though, so I knew Jinx could take a hit or 2, depending on if Raichu crits, so I lead with Jinx. It can 2-shot Raichu, so we aim for that, but after using a full restore, Hal switches out to Incineroar. Yeah, I picked the water starter, it's making my life a bit harder now, I know. Jinx dies to a Z move, but this is actually a favorable outcome because Hal can't use another one of those for the rest of the fight. Next in is Crabominable, who outspeeds and kills with Brick Break. Then, Raichu's back. It will one-shot Crabominable, so we have to switch out. I know that since Crabominable is a fighting type, Raichu will probably want to use Psychic. meaning that I can safely switch into Weavile, who is immune to psychic attacks. With Weavile, since it's already on low HP, we can kill it, and then How's Crabominable comes out. The thing will one-shot Weavile, and I couldn't think of anything safe to switch into at the time, though Ninetales would have been a pretty safe bet, so we just let Weavile die. Then Ninetales comes in, using Dazzling Gleam to kill. Tauros kills Ninetales, then Cloyster can tank a few hits, so it can easily kill Tauros. Then Leafeon, who very easily kills Cloyster, so we send in Lapras, who can survive a hit, and if we get lucky with the remaining full restores, Lapras can kill in 2 hits. Last up, Noivern, a dragon flying type. And our last Pokemon with an ice type move just died. Kind of funny, really. At the end of an ice type's only run, the only thing standing in our way is something that is 4x weak to ice, and I don't have a single ice type move on the Pokemon that's left. I didn't know if Crabominable could survive a hit here. I actually hadn't seen this Noivern in previous attempts. But it didn't matter if I could or not, because I only had one play to make. And very, very fortunately for us, that worked out. And there we have it, Pokemon Ultra Sun with only ice types. This has been a fun challenge. This is actually my first time doing a Pokemon challenge run of any kind, and I enjoyed it significantly more than I thought I would. So I'm planning on doing more challenge runs like this in the future. If you want to see those runs live, follow my Twitch, and if you want to see more of these videos, subscribe.